Hello and welcome to bonus office hours. If you're watching this, it's the day after Thanksgiving. I don't usually post on holiday times, but you all had so many great questions that I really wanted to answer them. So let's get started. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Meghan. I'm a doctor, I'm a life coach, and I help people with their weight. I'm board certified in internal medicine, lifestyle medicine, and obesity medicine. And I also work as a life coach to help people around the world with their non medical weight issues. So if you're on a GLP-1, you've lost some weight, but you're thinking, now what do I do? Or you want to make sure you never need to start a GLP-1 and you really want to focus on lifestyle changes, I can help you with that. So I'll leave all that info down below. But let's get started with your excellent questions. As always, I can't answer personal medical questions. So if your question leans a little bit personal, I'm going to change it so it's more broadly educationally applicable. So, first question. It seems pretty hard to get hypoglycemia with GLP-1s or metformin by themselves, but how about in combination with each other? Oh, that is a great question. So, this is talking, I'm guessing, about a person who does not have diabetes, and that is absolutely true. So, for people who have diabetes who are either on metformin or a GLP-1 receptor agonist, you do have to worry a bit more about low blood sugar or hypoglycemia because they don't have a normally functioning pancreas. But for people who do not have diabetes, who are on these medications for overweight or obesity, if someone is on metformin, yes, it is a theoretical side effect, but does it happen a lot clinically? Absolutely not. And the same is true with GLP-1 receptor agonists. In theory, yes, it certainly could happen. It certainly could cause low blood sugar, but usually it doesn't in practice. Now, if you combine the two, you are increasing your risk. So that certainly is more of a possibility. So you do want to look out for that if you feel like you're just a lot more fatigued, or you have sweating, or you feel like a big crash or tremors or any of those. And the symptoms of low blood sugar, which I'll list, are also particular, can vary, of course, from person to person. So the short answer is yes, it is certainly more of a risk, but still less of a risk than if somebody had diabetes, but definitely something to be more aware of for sure. Next question. Given metformin's infamous reputation for harsh GI tract side effects, would you emphasize a very low and slow titration schedule? That's a great question too. I'm going to answer this in two different ways. I'm going to answer this for somebody who's on just metformin and somebody who's on metformin and a GLP-1. So metformin is one of those medications which really has very heterogeneous side effect profile as well from person to person. So I have plenty of patients that are on metformin and just tolerate it very well and don't have any problem. Then I have patients who take the first dose and they have a lot of problems, a lot of GI side effects. And oftentimes it's diarrhea for metformin. I mean, I made a whole video about all the side effects you can get with metformin, but a lot of times it's really, it's stomach discomfort, it's diarrhea. And so it's similar to the GLP-1 in that, people are you can't really predict how people are going to do. Metformin is definitely something that doesn't have as set a titration schedule. So, and it really depends on what your goals are. So if someone is using metformin for help with weight loss, normally I will start them off on immediate release 500, not because I like the immediate release, but because it's generic, and if they need to go to extended release, it's usually more helpful to show that they've tried immediate release. And if their insurance is pushing back, sometimes it's much easier to get it approved if you can demonstrate that this has already been an option that they've tried. So, extended release metformin 500 Try that for a month or two and see how they're doing. See what their side effects are. See if it's helping their A1C. And then you could go, usually it's a twice a day dosing. So the maximum dose, total dose, is 2,000 milligrams of metformin daily. Usually you split that up with meals. But I have some patients that really like to do it all in one go. Not the 2,000 usually, but a lot of times people can only get to like 1,000 milligrams, and so they'll do that all in one dose with a meal. So it's not, metformin's not a medication that unlike GLP-1s where you generally aim to bump it up, once a month or once every 2 months. Metformin for me is really more of a kind of wait and see. Because also with metformin, the side effects can definitely go away after a while. So in answer to your question, yes, I definitely advocate a low and slow approach, and I'm definitely not rushing anybody up. If somebody really has a problem with the immediate release 500, then I will try to do the extended release and see how they do with that and then go from there. But usually I'll try increasing the dose every, 2 to 3 months. Really depends on how somebody's doing with side effects. But definitely, so for metformin on its own, definitely low and slow. And I try to use the extended release formula whenever possible because I find that people tolerate it more. But in general, I would be thinking about increasing the dose every 2 to 3 months and really seeing how that goes, and really letting people's body adjust to the side effects, because they may fall into that category where the side effects kind of taper off and then you have a bit more room to go up on the medication. If somebody was on metformin and a GLP-1, I would probably, if they're on metformin and they start the GLP-1, again, it really depends on that initial side effect profile, but I'm thinking that they're going to need need more time to go up, because the metformin side effects plus the potential GLP-1 side effects could be a lot. So that's definitely not somebody that I am rushing to increase up. I'm not rushing to increase anybody's dose, but it's not somebody that I'm going to try to adhere to that every month titration schedule, unless there are the people who just do really well and they are, pharmacologically robust and don't seem to have a lot of side effects. So if they're feeling good, things are going well, then, full speed ahead. But usually I'm a little bit more wary that we will have side effects if they're already on metformin, because a lot of the side effects are very similar. So the short answer is yes, I would be looking to do a low and slow titration for both of them. Great question. Okay. Next question. This is more of a comment. Okay. This person, okay, so-and-so died after 2 low doses. You didn't mention death as a possible side effect, such as this case that was reported in The Guardian: multiple organ failure, septic shock, and pancreatitis. Yeah, I mean, I would say there are certainly, I'm not going to argue with you. There are rare cases where people die from using medication. And, any medication falls into that category. And the first rule of medicine is, of course, do no harm. The goal is always to make people's lives better and not make it worse. So, people are going to have very serious, life-threatening, or even fatal reactions to any medication, and the GLP-1 medications are not exempt from that. Fortunately, it's something that is extremely rare, and of course, not something that any regulatory body or physician would advocate if it was known to be life-threatening. But I think this is a good reminder that, especially as we hear a lot about these medications, we know a lot of people that are on them. maybe we're on them ourselves. We don't, you never want to have a casual approach to these medications. They can, they're very serious. They're regulated for a reason, and you want to treat them with respect. And so this is a good reminder that even medications that we use for things like weight loss or diabetes, for the wrong person can be fatal. This is also a really good reminder of why people need to be monitored. You need to make sure that you're seeing your physician, you have a plan for when you're increasing the dose, have a plan for if you're not feeling well, if something goes wrong. If you start to have side effects, you need to make sure that someone is watching you and kind of guiding you through, because there are a lot of things that can go wrong, unfortunately, with any medication. But yes, that is certainly can happen with any medication, and a good reminder that we all need to be careful of where we're getting the medication from, and that we're being monitored. So thank you for that reminder for us all that medications, including GLP-1s, need to be treated with respect. All right, so this question is a little long. I'm going to depersonalize this a little, but in theory, I think what it is asking is, so they're saying they're on maintenance dosing and going down in their dose. They feel like the medication's helping, but they're also eating more. They just want to maintain their weight loss, and they're not sure if they're trying not to eat as much as they used to eat, but I think they're a little worried that they're on maintenance, but now they're eating more. So this is a good question, because I think, I don't know what maintenance means for this person. When I have somebody in maintenance, it means that they are staying on the highest dose that they could tolerate or that was healthy for them, and they're just staying there. Usually I'm not, moving somebody down and saying you're in maintenance, unless they had a lot of side effects and they really couldn't tolerate a higher dose. In general, right now, the current thought is the highest dose somebody can tolerate that, is meeting their health goals, but you wouldn't back off on the medication once they got to their goal weight, because we know from the literature that when you stop the medication, the weight does tend to go back on, not immediately, but over time it really does. So this idea of maintenance that this person is on is different than something that I would personally recommend, that I recommend for my patients. So I'm not surprised if someone decreases the dose that they're eating more, because they're on less medication, and these medications are very dose dependent. So if you go down on the dose, your body is going to register less of an effect. You'll likely have more of an appetite. You'll likely take longer to have satiety after a meal. So none of that is surprising. So if somebody is, this is a great question. If somebody is very close to their weight goals, you want to have a good conversation with your physician, ideally before you start the medication, but, certainly as you go on, of like, what does maintenance look like? What's the plan for that? What would your idea of success be? I certainly know that there are a lot of people who are very eager to be on the lowest dose possible. And I totally get that, because I am definitely a minimalist about medications. The lowest dose possible that somebody needs to achieve the effect. However, with these medications, we just don't have any hard and fast data yet to show that, prescribing it in a different way during maintenance can be helpful for a patient. Now, in 5 years from now, that might be completely different, and we have a new protocol and we've tested it out, and it, we have all these questions figured out. But for now, when I have somebody in maintenance, they are staying on the highest dose that they've been able to tolerate, and we're really just thinking about keeping them on that dose for the long haul. But like I said, these are certainly subject to change as the years go by and as we have more data. But if you're somebody who is on maintenance, and by maintenance that means you went down on a dose, but you're worried about how you're eating or what's going on with your appetite, that is definitely worth a follow-up conversation with your physician in terms of where to go given the circumstances. So thank you so much for sharing that and for that great question. That's going to do it for today. I hope everyone had a really lovely Thanksgiving and that you were really able to enjoy it with your family and friends. Thank you for all these amazing questions. I think they really help so many people. If you have a question afterwards, you can definitely leave it on the video or you can leave it on another video. And thank you so much, and please be well.